All right. That's a really interesting thing that you mentioned that about the hand shape and skin texture, and then that's the kind of the thing that you've kind of really picked up on the most. I was actually thinking about this the other day because I've been in
Mhm,
discussion with this guy in Russia about their approach to hand reading, which is very predictive,
mhm, mhm.
and I was arguing with him about that, and I've just been sort of thinking about it. I was thinking, what's the problem? And I was thinking, well, one of the distinctive things about the the approach that I developed that Felicity is also teaching is this emphasis on the hand shape and skin texture.
Mhm.
And one of the most significant things about the hand shape and skin texture is if you understand that, you can actually work out what job someone does. You
Yeah,
can work out what job someone does sometimes just from the hand
yeah,
shape and the skin texture.
yeah.
So, for example, a fire hand shape with the water skin texture on a hand of a female,
Mhm,
very likely she's going to be working in some kind of caring profession, looking
mhm.
after people. So she's likely to be a nurse or a social worker. And then you might
Yeah.
find a couple of other features on the hand that show that bendy thumb, listening lines here, whatever. There may be an arch on the index finger or something. There may be other things that contribute to that. But you can actually work out what job someone does from the hand shape and the skin texture. And
Yeah.
then it's something like, okay, the hand shape and skin texture are really, really important for doing that. But what do most palmists not do?
Mm, mm.
What they do not do is they work out what job someone does. And in,
Yeah.
but what when I was sort of thinking that this is how I developed my own handwriting approach in the 80s, one of the first essays I wrote was about how to do vocational analysis from the hand.
Mhm.
And the significance of that is that what you can do when you can work out what someone does for a job from their hands, you've actually got something that can be empirically verified or denied.
Mhm.
Either the person was a nurse and a social worker or they weren't. You know,
Yeah.
so if they've got a certain type of skin texture, they're going to work in a certain kind of environment. And they've got a particular energetic. And that's the key thing with the hand shape and skin texture. Again, in a discussion with another Russian guy,
Mhm.
he was sort of dismissing the elemental hand shape classification. And what's
Mhm.
apparent to me about that is that people who are dismissive of it don't understand what the elemental classification purpose it actually serves and what it
Mm.
actually describes. And it's like it's an energetic thing. It's a morphological phenomenon of the hand shape. So the morphology of your hand is going to be a function of your physical being. So it's going to be
Yeah.
a function of your size and the shape, which is going to be to some degree ethnically derived because some races of people are tall and short, tall and thin, and other people are broad and stocky. So there's a genetic component to do that to do with the kind of person you are,
Mhm.
but that describes something of the energy that you bring to your life. And so it's not a difficult equation then to sort of think about that in terms of like the energetics of that, in terms of what someone puts out, and then with the skin texture, what they receive. And that sort of input and output notion about the hand shape and skin texture is
Mhm.
extraordinarily important because that contextualizes everything else in the hand.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you don't know what area of the world someone's working in or what culture they're working in, you've got no idea how they're going to articulate the same thing that you might see. And that's why none of the other things in the hand kind of have a specific meaning because they will be articulated and expressed in different ways in different cultures. But it's the hand shape and the skin texture that tells you the kind of culture that that person lives in. And it could be literally, are they Caucasian or are they Tongan, a Pacific Islander?
Yeah.
Or are they in an emotional context or an intellectual context or a business context or a farming context, if you're
Mhm.
looking at skin textures. And
Mhm.
then when you have that generic information that allows you to go into the detail of the hand in much, 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 much more specifically and be much,
Mhm.
much more precise. But
Mhm.
the where that comes from is from this emphasis that I've put on the approach that I teach handreading to work out what job they do. And
Mhm.
I always say to people, if you can't work out what job someone does from the hand, what are you reading hands for? It's like,
Mhm. Yeah.
that's kind
Yeah.
of really fundamental, at least
Mhm.
in a generic way. And if it's some things that can be very specific,
Yeah.
earth hand with fire skin texture, or a fire hand with a water skin texture, or a fire water hand with an air skin texture. There are some
Yeah.
combinations that will always behave and manifest in their lives in particular
Mhm.
kinds of ways. And the language of the elements is what what emphasize that. So as a consequence of thinking about this, and so that's what I'm thinking about because I've got some people wanting to do a course with me, and they've all done hand reading before. Um,
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
thing was, I'm thinking, well, I've got to teach them the elements. How am I going to do that? And I thought, well, actually, the thing to do is to teach them how to do vocational analysis from the hand, because that
Yeah.
covers all of that stuff.
Exactly, yeah, and combine this feature because none of the other teachers are combining or emphasizing this combination or this relationship so strongly. So this is something very new for me. But for example, again with my partner, he is a